Hi there, and welcome to another video from TechTrain. My name is Harry Jack. I'm the founder and the trainer for TechTrain, and today we're going to be looking at an introduction to Microsoft Teams. TechTrain is a free training resource that I decided to create after over 10 years of working at Microsoft and always struggling to find the right free training resources to provide to my customers. If you liked today's video or you found today's training helpful, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment below with any other topics you'd like to see, and make sure to share the video with colleagues or friends that may also find the content useful. We've also got a LinkedIn page where I post about all the new videos that come up from TechTrain, so if you want to follow us on LinkedIn, you can do that here as well. So now that we got all of that out of the way, let's take a look at our agenda for today, and then we can get started. Okay, so for today's topic, as we said before, we're going to be going through an introduction to Microsoft Teams. This is a very basic level 100 look at the Microsoft Teams application and a foundational view of what it holds. If we look at our agenda today, we're going to look at how to access Microsoft Teams, a tour of Microsoft Teams. We're going to show you how to send your first message, post for the first time in a channel, and schedule or attend a meeting. Now, there are a lot of components to Microsoft Teams, and like I've said today, we're really just going to look at an introduction and kind of get familiar with the application. In future videos, we're going to dive deeper into the different components of Microsoft Teams and really break down the individual features. So stay tuned in this video if you want to see kind of the fundamentals of Teams, especially if you've never used it before. However, if you're already a user of Microsoft Teams and you're maybe looking for additional tips and tricks or more detailed review of features, those will be coming in later videos. Also, one important disclaimer that I like to put out before any training video on the Microsoft 365 solutions, or really any solutions for any software, is that there's going to be feature differences between the different versions of the software. So for example, features that we may see in the commercial environment or in the business environment, which is the environment that I'm going to be demoing in today, are going to be different than the features available in, let's say, a government environment or an education environment. So keep that in mind. Typically in introduction videos like today, most of the features that we're going to be going through are going to be available across the board. But as we get into more advanced topics and advanced videos, that may change. Okay, so now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with our first topic of the day, how to access Microsoft Teams. So there are two ways to access Microsoft Teams from your computer, on the web or on the desktop application, which you download with your Microsoft 365 apps. And if you checked out our Microsoft 365 introduction video, you know how to do that. Anyway, we can access from the desktop application or the web. The web has actually two ways to access Microsoft Teams, either from your Microsoft 365 portal at portal.office.com. Again, we talked about that in the Microsoft 365 introduction video. You can also access Microsoft Teams from teams.microsoft.com. So those are the two places you can go to access on the web. Choosing which way to access Microsoft Teams, whether it's on the web or the desktop, is really a personal preference. There are a couple of feature differences between the web and the desktop, but it's fairly minimal in most scenarios. Typically, it's going to be things like pop-out chat and meetings popping out into their own window, which, as we get into Microsoft Teams a little bit deeper, that sort of stuff will start to make sense. But using it from the web or using it from the desktop is a very similar experience across the board. There is also a mobile application for Microsoft Teams, so if you need to use Microsoft Teams on the go, you can access it from the mobile application. All right, let's jump on over to the desktop and take a look at accessing Microsoft Teams from the web, as well as accessing from the desktop application, which we've already downloaded from our previous video of an introduction to Microsoft 365. Okay, so here we are on our Microsoft 365 portal. We've logged in here at portal.office.com using our Microsoft 365 account, and we want to open the Microsoft Teams application. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over to our navigation rail here on the left-hand side, and then from here, we're going to click on Microsoft Teams right here on the navigation rail. If you're not seeing Teams on this rail for any reason, go up here to the waffle menu and click here. That will open up an expanded view of your applications where you should see Microsoft Teams right here. If you're not seeing it here, you can explore all apps and find the Teams application from there. Once we click on the Teams application in the portal, that'll open up teams.microsoft.com, which is the direct link we had just talked about previously. And now we're in Microsoft Teams on the web. If we want to use Microsoft Teams on the desktop application, which I'll be using for the remainder of this video, we can get out of our web browser and look for our Microsoft Teams application on our device. If you're using Mac OS like I am, you can always check in the Launchpad for your application. If you've already got it pinned to your rail, you'll look for the Teams icon and click that guy to open it up. And now we're in Microsoft Teams in the desktop application. All right, now that we know how to access Microsoft Teams from our device, let's move into the next section, which is taking a tour of the Teams application itself. This is going to be a pretty quick tour of the Microsoft Teams application, but I just want to get you familiar with where things are and what they're called so that we can kind of get more familiar for our later videos. Also, just calling out again, I'll be using the desktop application of Microsoft Teams, though the web application for this stuff is going to be essentially identical. Okay, so here in the Microsoft Teams application, there are a few areas to get familiar with before we start diving into the individual components of Microsoft Teams. So to start off, we're going to look over to the left-hand side of the screen, and we're going to see something that looks kind of familiar to our Microsoft 365 portal. That is the navigation rail. And this is where we're going to find our applications within the Microsoft Teams application. Sometimes some of the terminology or ideas here can get a little bit confusing, but just to clarify, Microsoft Teams itself can also serve as a host for other applications that you use to bring your collaborative solutions into one platform, so you don't have to keep going back and forth between windows, whether it's on the browser or other applications. And then within Microsoft Teams itself, we have applications, such as Activity, Chat, Teams, Calendar. We've got Calls, Files, and there'll be other applications as well. Since I'm the administrator for my tenant, I've also got one called Admin, for example. Other applications can be added from the Apps screen, where you can look for other productivity applications available in your tenant. One of the disclaimers to highlight here really quickly is that the availability of applications in your environment can and very usually is restricted by your IT organization. So if you're not seeing applications that you're looking for, reach out to your IT and see if there's any way to get that application available for you to use at work. But like I said, from this menu, you can search for applications and add applications into Microsoft Teams that can help with your productivity or just your overall workflow. We're not really going to focus anymore on this application today. We're going to be focusing on a couple of the others. Now, the next space within Microsoft Teams is going to be the actual kind of workspaces that we're going to get familiar with throughout the applications. So there are two main sections over here that we like to highlight. We've got the first space over here, which I like to call the Me space. And that's simply because whether you're in Teams within Microsoft Teams, or if you go into, let's say, Chat, for example, the information in this first window on the left is going to be information that's relevant specifically to me. So these are my chats. Back in Teams, these are my teams and channels that I belong to, so on and so forth. Over to the right side of that, we have the We space. And I call this the We space because this is where you will be collaborating, or we will be collaborating as a team, whether it's in the actual sections of our channels, or again, if we go into our chats, this is where our conversations would be, back and forth between myself and my colleagues. So the Me space over here on the left and the We space, just some terminology to help kind of even things out. Up at the top of our window, we also have a search bar, and this is a search bar that will be familiar from the Microsoft 365 portal. Now, the search bar in Microsoft Teams is a powerful search tool that you can use to look for not just people in your organization, but messages using keywords, files, and other pieces of your work here within Microsoft Teams, as well as across Microsoft 365. There are also a list of commands, which you can access by typing \, and seeing the different commands that are available, such as setting your status to busy or be right back so you can step away from your computer. That being said, statuses do set automatically, and we'll be looking at that in just a second in the settings. Settings can be accessed over in the top right-hand corner of our Microsoft Teams application by clicking on the ellipses right next to our profile icon. When we click on the ellipses, we'll see things like access to our full settings menu, which gives us more detailed options for managing our devices we're using with Microsoft Teams, accessibility settings, and general settings such as our theme and our density within Microsoft Teams. There's a lot of information to go through here in the settings, which we're not going to dive into today, but here they are. I encourage you to hop in and explore these to customize Teams to the way that you want it. Next to our settings, which is where we can also go in to adjust the zoom for our Microsoft Teams application, we can look at our keyboard shortcuts or check for updates within Microsoft Teams. Next to this, we can go into our profile. We can see my little picture up there with my status icon. When I click on my profile, it's going to show my picture with my status icon again, my name and my email to contact at work. We've also got the ability to manually set our status. So if I click on this available slot right here, I can choose to say, currently I'm in Do Not Disturb because I'm, recording a video. What Do Not Disturb is going to do is it's going to block notifications in Microsoft Teams from other users. So while I'm presenting or while I'm in a call, I'm not going to see messaging pop-ups. People aren't going to be able to call me until this Do Not Disturb status is removed. There is a way to add other users as sort of priority so that they can bypass this Do Not Disturb mode, but it is a really useful tool to take advantage of. Do Not Disturb will also automatically enable if you're sharing your screen in a meeting, which is a helpful thing to know. So if we click on our drop-down right here, we can set these all manually, as I mentioned, so I could say be right back if I need to go away from my computer. However, Teams does also set these automatically, just depending on your activity on your device, such as, if maybe I'm away from my device for 5 minutes or so, it'll move me into be right back. Or if I join a meeting, it'll automatically set me to busy. When that meeting ends, it will set me as available. When it comes to available and busy for joining meetings, it's going to be based off of what's on your calendar. So even if you haven't actively joined a meeting, it will show that you are in that meeting or you are busy. So that's important to note. If you do go in and set one of these statuses manually, you want to make sure to go in here and reset status whenever you want it to start syncing up with your activity again. That way your status will be in real time. You can also set status messages by clicking on Set Status Message. That lets you type in something here like maybe I'll be away today. Please contact Angus if you need any help. And what that's going to do is it's going to redirect folks over to Angus because I'm going to be away today. And what's really cool about scheduling this message, since I've mentioned somebody on my team, it's going to send Angus a automated message, which we can actually see popped up in my chats, just letting Angus know that he has been tagged in my status message for the day. I could go in here and delete this status message if I want to, or edit it at any time here from my profile view. Last but not least, on our tour of Microsoft Teams, over here on the left-hand side towards the bottom of our application, we can find the Help icon. And this is a really great tool to go in and see things like topics and training or what's new in Microsoft Teams. When you click on these, it'll take you to another window where you can find, for example, training videos on how to do a variety of different things in Microsoft Teams. So that was our quick tour of the Microsoft Teams application. The next thing we're going to move into is sending your first message in Microsoft Teams. Okay, so here in our Microsoft Teams chat application is where we're going to be sending and receiving our messages in Microsoft Teams. Over in the Me space, we'll see a list of the conversations that we are a part of. The most recent conversations will move up to the top, and we can see it's got a little recent section right here. Over in the We space is where our conversation can actually take place. We can see I've already started to have a conversation with Angus here, although Angus hasn't replied. And so that conversation is going to be available here. Now, chat activity is retained in the Microsoft 365 services. The length at which that content is retained is up to your organization. I believe the default for Microsoft Teams is 180 days. However, I've seen organizations with retention policies up to 7 years for chat messages, or as small as a few days. So it will vary in your organization. Make sure to check with your IT to confirm how long chat retention policies are. Here in our chat conversation that already exists with Angus, we can look up at the top and see a couple of tabs within our chat section. So we've got our chat, which is where our actual conversation is going to take place. We've also got a files tab, which will house any files that Angus and I have shared in our chat, and we can access them to collaborate here together. We've also got an organization tab, which will show the organization tree. For example, Angus reports to me in our fictional organization. We can also see occasionally tabs that have things like activity, where we can see any activity that we've had in common throughout Microsoft Teams. And I can click on the LinkedIn tab to take a look at Angus's LinkedIn if Angus had a LinkedIn, which in this case he doesn't, because as you can see from his nameplate, when I hover over his picture, Angus is a cow. So for the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and delete my chat with Angus just to show what it looks like to create a new chat within Microsoft Teams. So I'm going to click on the More Options next to Angus's name, and we can see a whole list of different options available for us within chat. What I'm going to do right now is delete this chat, and that's going to fully remove it from our list over here in the Me space. Now, we can also hide a chat or mute it, but these chats will then still technically exist. And so I'm going to, in this particular case, delete this chat. Once we delete this chat, it's going to be removed from our list right here. Now let's go through the actual process of sending our first chat message by creating our first chat. So we're going to go over here to the top right of our Me space, and here we're going to see a little new chat button. When I click on this, I can search for people inside my organization. Just a reminder that this organization is not real and there are only 2 of us, myself and then a fictional cow. But anyway, as I said, from here we can look up other people in our organization. I'm going to say Angus, or I could type in whatever other name I wanted to. And from here I can then click on the compose box down at the bottom and craft my first message to Angus. So I'm going to say, for example, hey Angus, and I'm going to mention Angus by typing the @ symbol and then typing Angus's name. I can hit enter once his name appears to confirm that I'm tagging Angus in this message. And I'm going to welcome Angus to TechTrain because Angus is my new training assistant in TechTrain. So I've typed up this message. I can click enter to send it, or I can click the little paper airplane in the bottom right hand corner to send this message off to Angus. So I've started this conversation. We can now see Angus has appeared at the top of our recent section for chats, and we can hold a conversation here. Now, there are a lot of formatting options available for messages within Microsoft Teams. We're not going to jump into those today because this is a very high-level introduction, but just to sort of make sure you know, if you click on the formatting button here, you can do things like bold, italicize, underline, add bulleted lists, even insert hyperlinks or snippets of code, for example, for the more technical people out there. Up in the top right-hand corner of our chat, we can see that we also have the ability to quickly start a kind of impromptu video or audio call with Angus. On the desktop application of Teams, I can also share my screen with other people without having to actually hop into a call. And that is our introduction to chats within Microsoft Teams. We sent our first message and looked at some of the basics of how to navigate chats and how to find all of our chats within the MeetSpace. Next up in our training, we're going to be looking at posting in a channel and just a general overview of what channels and teams are within Microsoft Teams. Okay, so we're going to navigate over to our navigation rail on the left-hand side of Teams, and we're going to click on the space that says Teams. This is one of the concepts that can be a little bit confusing for new Microsoft Teams users, so I just want to break it down really quickly. The whole application itself is called Microsoft Teams. Within Microsoft Teams, there are teams which serve as group spaces to be able to collaborate on particular areas of work. Within each team, there are channels that further breaks down that space into kind of subgroups for that work. One of the ways that I used to explain how that sort of relationship works is that our team's space over here is like a street. And then on that street, we have a couple of different houses. We've got the content development house, we've got the senior leadership team house, and inside each of those houses, there are different rooms to the house. So we can have a kitchen, for example, a bedroom, and maybe a living room, for example. If I want to watch a movie, I'm probably not going to watch that movie in the kitchen. I'll watch that movie in the living room. Same thing for cooking meals. I'm not going to cook meals in my bedroom. I'm going to cook those meals in the kitchen. So each of these channels is going to have a specific purpose. You know, it's serving a purpose within your organization to make it easy for users that work in content development, for example, to be able to find the information that they need to quickly or to collaborate on the particular part of work that they need to do and make sure they know they're doing it in the right space. So over here, I've got two teams that I belong to. I've got my content development team and I've got my senior leadership team. Within those teams, I've got some different channels. Every team is going to have a general channel when it is created. And then the team owner can go in and add additional channels just depending on what's needed for that particular group. So that's our me space over here. There are a few more things that you can do within Teams in the me space, but we're going through this tour pretty quickly. So let's move over into the we space where we can see a couple different tabs, just like we saw within our chats. And these tabs are going to give us access to our posts, our conversations within the channel. We can also access shared files. These shared files are going to be available to everyone that has access to this team. There is the ability to create private channels, so only specific people could access the content in that channel. But all of these channels right here are public, meaning that if you have access to the team, you have access to the channels and the content within. We've also got other tabs, which were other applications that have been added to the top of this channel. For instance, a notes tab where we can see a OneNote pop up where we can, use this space as a collaborative note-taking tool. I've also added the file that we've got in our files space as a tab itself, so this Word document is easy to access. This is particularly handy if there's a document that people in this team or this channel need to reference often and quickly. You can add it up here as a tab, so it's easy to find and easy to access. Creating more tabs within a channel is done by clicking on the Add a Tab plus sign up top. You can select the application that tab is going to be pulling from, and then the file itself. In order to upload things like a PowerPoint or a Word document as a tab in a channel, that document does first need to be uploaded into the Files tab of your channel, which you can do by clicking on Upload. There are a lot more details to go through within channels, but that's going to be done in a later video where we look a little bit deeper into teams and channels. Let's stay on topic here though, and we're going to look at how to post a conversation within a channel. So down at the bottom of our Posts tab within the WeSpace, we can see the Start a Post button. By clicking on this, it's going to open up a Compose window where I can start to compose my conversation. Now, these are going to be a little bit different than chat messages in the way that they're structured and the way that you kind of put them together. Let's put this one together and then we can take a look at that structure a little bit further in detail. So let's say for this subject in the general channel of content development, I'm going to just put a deadline reminder out there and I'm going to tell the team, hey folks, and maybe instead of typing folks, I'll type @content development. That will tag everybody that belongs to the content development team to take a look at this message, and they will get that notification up in their activity application, which we'll jump over and look at in just a second. But hey, content development, just a reminder that all first drafts are due at the end of this week. I can attach files to these conversations, add emojis here if I want to. Or I can go in and even add things like GIFs. So I could say maybe deadline, and I'm going to add this one in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and click post. Now, just like with chat messages, there's a lot of different formatting that you can take advantage of. Again, other applications that you can even integrate into these posts. But here, I'm just going to go ahead and click post. And it's going to add this conversation into the posts section of our channel. Now, the main difference here between how posts work and the way that chats work is that posts create one of these individual cards, and users who want to interact with this part of the conversation can click on reply down here. Let's say sounds good, and send that off. And we can see replies are going to appear attached to this same card that the original conversation was from. People can react to this conversation as well, and we can see those reactions. So that will keep everything relevant to this particular topic in this conversation card. Versus if we go back and look at our chats, conversations in chats are just like text messages, although we're not seeing any replies from Angus because he's not a real cow. But this is going to be a linear conversation, just like your text messages, where it's very back and forth. Another type of posting available within channels is called an announcement. If we go and we start another post, and then next to the word post, we click on the post type button, we can see that there's a choice for announcement. Announcements kind of stand out a little bit more. They give you the ability to type a headline, like let's say deadlines, and we're going to make it all caps. We could then go in here and change the background for these, for example. We could make this stand out with maybe an orange color, add in a subheading, add in the text, and then send this post out. And that's going to stand out more than our just standard sort of message here, although they do function essentially the same as a regular post within a channel. I'm going to go ahead and click on discard just to get rid of this draft. Now we're going to move on to the next part of our demo, which will be in the calendar space. We'll go ahead and move over there right now. And this is where we're going to be learning how to schedule and attend a meeting. So let's kick off with just navigation of our calendar, and then we will schedule a quick meeting and look at how to join meetings, and then just a few of the basic controls within a Teams meeting before we wrap up for the day. So here is our calendar view within Microsoft Teams. This is where we're going to see all of the meetings that we are invited to or that we create on our calendar. The great thing about our calendar within Microsoft Teams is this is also going to sync with our calendar in Microsoft Outlook. Specifically, it's going to be syncing our calendar events associated with the Microsoft 365 account that we use for work. So for example, in my Outlook application, I'll have a calendar for harry@techtrain.net, and any of the events that are associated with that account are going to be showing up here within my Microsoft Teams calendar. Obviously, there's nothing on here right now because this is a pretty new account used for these demonstrations, but we can change that by going in and creating a meeting in just a second. Let's finish a quick little view of navigation and then get started with that. So I can scroll up and down using my mouse to scroll through the times. We can see this orange bar represents the current time of day that we're in, and we can also see which day we are in. It's highlighted white compared to the gray on either side. We've currently got our view in the full week view, which includes Sunday and Saturday. But if we want to change that to just a work week, we can click on our view right here and change to work week. You can also change to the day view if you just want a really zoomed in view of your day, if maybe you're one of those people that has super busy packed days. We're going to keep ours in the work week for now. We can advance week by clicking on the buttons right here just to seek forward a week or go back. We can also click on the today button to jump back to today. We can even click right here to change our day, our month, and jump forward or back in the months just to look way further ahead within our calendar. Up here in the top right corner, we've got our different meeting options to kind of start meeting, really. We've got join with an ID. IDs are provided for meetings. So if instead of sending an invite to a bunch of people, you just maybe email out an ID, people can click here with the meeting ID and passcode to join that meeting. You can also do Meet Now, which will just start an impromptu meeting with just me, and then I can invite other people to the meeting from there. Or we've got the New Meeting button. There is a drop-down next to the New Meeting button, which shows the other different types of meetings that can be scheduled in Microsoft Teams. The different types of meetings that can be created is subject to what's available in your organization, which is managed by IT, and also depending on which type of tenant you have. For example, government tenants are usually a little bit behind on getting newer features like new meeting types. But anyway, we are going to focus today on just scheduling a standard meeting. So all I have to do is either click on the New Meeting button up here and it will schedule a meeting at the time that we're currently at by default or the next available slot. You can also find a specific time on your calendar, let's say 10 o'clock tomorrow, and just double click in that space to open up, single click in that space to open up a window where you can then go into scheduling your meeting. So let me just expand this a little bit. And now we are going to go through the process of setting up our meeting. We'll keep this pretty simple and only do a couple of the things that we need to set up this meeting. But as you can see, there are a lot of different options and choices to make when scheduling a meeting. All of those are things that I'll go through in a deep dive video on meetings at a later time. But for this, let's go ahead and just add a title. We'll call it Content Review. It's going to be with my colleague Angus, as always. And then we can confirm the date and time we want to schedule this meeting. It's currently set for the 8th at 10 a.m., which is the time that I clicked on in the calendar. If we want to change that, we could click the drop downs here, or we can actually use this handy tool called the Scheduling Assistant. Scheduling Assistant will look at my calendar as well as Angus's and look for any blocks where we're maybe not available. Obviously, our calendars are wide open right now, but if there was a conflict at this particular time, we could click and drag this window to a different time to confirm that we are both going to be available for that meeting. You can even add additional attendees or optional attendees from this menu in the Scheduling Assistant. We'll go back to our details now. And now that we've got the title, we've got our people invited to this meeting, and we have got our date and time confirmed, we could add some details to this meeting. However, I'm not going to do that right now. And we can go ahead and click on Send. Now, again, there are a lot more things that you can do before this meeting starts, but that's something that we'll look at later. So for now, let's send this invite off, and it's going to add it to my calendar and also send the invite over to Angus. Now, to join this meeting, I could do a couple different things. I can single click on this window to open up a quick little context menu with a join button. I can double click on this meeting to open up the meeting details in a larger window where I can click on join. Or an interesting thing, when this invite was sent out, it also sends an email invite to the people that were invited, and there is a join link in that email. So I could go over to Outlook and click here to join meeting. That will open up Microsoft Teams and open up that meeting. But let's go ahead and click on join. And we are going to just disable our camera for now and disable our microphone for this meeting. And then we will be able to hop in and get started. One thing that I think is really important in the virtual meeting space is meeting etiquette, and so I tend to highlight those things every once in a while in my videos. One of the things that I like to mention when you are first joining a meeting is to ensure that your camera is turned off and your microphone is muted when you first join the meeting. That way you can just get familiar with the space. Maybe it's not a cameras meeting at all. And also you just want to limit any background noise that's going into the conversation. You could be joining a meeting while other people are already having a conversation, and you want to limit that disruption. So I always say to just disable the camera, mute the microphone temporarily, join the meeting, and then just go from there. So we've got our camera turned off, which we could toggle right here, and our microphone muted, and now I'm just going to go in and click Join Now. This is going to join the meeting, and it's currently just me in this meeting. Let me go ahead and expand this window just to make it a little bit bigger for us. It's only me in this meeting where I can see my profile picture As other people join the meeting, they will continue to fill this screen. We'll also go into details on all of the different features and functions available within meetings in the deep dive videos, but here I just want to showcase a few of the fundamental things that you want to know if you're going into a Teams meeting. The first thing is how to turn on and turn off your camera. So if I click on right here, I can turn on or turn off my camera. So we'll go ahead and keep that turned on, or we can click camera to turn it off. We can also mute or unmute our microphone using this button right here. And then over here on the left-hand side, we've got a chat button. And this is going to let us open up the meeting chat where we can have text conversations while the meeting is going on. There are other options like being able to share your screen within this meeting and doing things like sharing your whole desktop or just sharing particular windows. But we're not going to go into that today. That'll be something that I go through in the advanced meeting as well. Now, whenever this meeting is over or it's time to leave, we can go ahead and click on the Leave Meeting button, and I will leave this meeting. Since I was the last person in that meeting, it's also going to fully close out that meeting. However, one important thing to note, if you're the host of a meeting, which I'm just going to hop back into this meeting really quickly. If I'm hosting this meeting, right to the side of the leave button, I can click the drop down and click end meeting. That will end the meeting for everybody. That end meeting feature is pretty handy because I can't even tell you the number of meetings I've been in where someone goes away from keyboard or they take a call and they stay in that meeting for an extra 20 or 30 minutes. And that, depending on the recording settings, might run that recording for additional 20 to 30 minutes. And in general, just show on people's calendar that that meeting is still going on. So ending a meeting allows the host or the person who created the meeting to be able to just end it there and make a clean break. But anyway, that's an overview of our calendar within Microsoft Teams, and we also looked at creating our first meeting as well as joining a meeting. So now let's just quickly wrap up and talk about what we covered today, and then we'll talk about really quickly what we're going to be looking at in the next video. So today we looked at an introduction to Microsoft Teams, and in that introduction we looked at how to access Microsoft Teams, a tour of Microsoft Teams, sending your first message, posting in a channel, and scheduling and attending a meeting. Now this was, again, probably the third time I've said this, if not more. This was a very simple overview of Microsoft Teams where we really didn't get into the details. In the next series of videos, I'm going to be taking deep dives into the different parts of Microsoft Teams, such as the settings and activity. We'll look at the chat in more depth. We'll look at teams and channels, and we'll also look at meetings in further depth. And as a bonus, I'll also do another video on accessibility features within Microsoft Teams meetings because I think they're really important and it's part of what I really used to focus on in my last job at Microsoft. And that concludes our video for today. So thank you so much for checking out this video and for following the TechTrain YouTube channel. You can subscribe to TechTrain. Make sure to like the videos if you found them helpful. Also, really make sure to share them with friends or colleagues that may find the videos useful. You can also check out our YouTube channel directly by going to the link that is provided here on the screen. We've also got a LinkedIn where you can go to just see new announcements about the new videos that we post and just follow along and interact there. So, thank you very much for checking out this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you so much. Take care.